Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Hatha for everybody. I'm Jennifer Eubank. Delighted to be here. Got a little bit of glare I'm going to take care of in just a moment. We're on the chakras this semester, focusing on the chakras. Ancient energetic belief system. And if you leave today's practice and still are not quite sure about what the chakras entail, don't worry, you're not alone. It's a lot of information. And over the next few weeks, it'll all start to come together the more and more we focus on these different chakra points along our spine. So before I get too far into it, why don't we go ahead and get started, get back into your spaces, and let's start in a seated position for a few moments. Maybe close your eyes. Take a few moments to, leave all the hustle and bustle that got you to your space this morning. Just kind of leave that aside. Announce to yourself, okay, next 75 minutes, I'm just going to take some me time. First, establish a sense of safety and stability within your seat, good connection to the earth. As well as that rise up to the sky. Notice what it feels like to be in your space. You're safe, you're sound. You have everything you need. The body, your breath, your mind. Notice how your body feels today. The structure, the energy within, even your thoughts, your ideas, your emotions, all of these aspects make up who you are today. And take note and set your intentions accordingly. Let's go a couple more breaths. And then as you're ready, go ahead and slowly glide or blink your eyes back open and maybe kind of wriggle your body out a little bit. And then let's get in our first position. Lie back on your mats. Start with the knees bent first. Knees bent. Lie back with those knees bent. That'll help protect your back as you lie back, and take a couple of moments with the knees bent, your two-legged table, noticing what it feels like to be in this position. And then as you're ready, go ahead and extend your legs out in front of you, right out in front of you. And, maybe move your feet around a little bit. Settle in to extended legs. I'm going to start in a really simple reclining position. T arms. So whenever you're ready, bring your arms up to shoulder height. Mhm. So I thought we would start in this very, very simple position today because it gives you a chance, first of all, to lie on the floor and relax and release. And that can help your spine settle down to its neutral position. So you're not tempted to hunch forward or bend back. You've got that floor supporting the, the spine. And we've got our arms open to help open up the shoulder girdle, which is at one end of your spine. In a few moments, we'll change it and open up the hip girdle. But for now, let's just focus on opening up the shoulders. And then as you're ready, bring your feet wide. So you're in a starfish position. And your feet can go past the corners of the mat, or they can be maybe corner width. They can even be more narrow than the corners, whatever works for you. And this will give you a chance to open up your hip girdle. And as we open up either end of the spine, that might help it settle into its lengthy shape. Arms or your hands can be facing the ceiling for an external rotation in your shoulders, or they can be facing the floor for a more internal um, rotation. And you can change that from time to time because we'll be here for a few moments. I'm going to rise back up, but you stay in your starfish position. Anytime you need to make little tiny adjustments, you may. Speaking of adjustments, I need to adjust that glare, especially because it just hit me right in the eyes. And as you establish a sense of stability in your position and a good, nice, solid earth connection in your position, and those are both elements of your root chakra, take your mind to your breathing. Notice the breath coming in and out of the body, breathing in and out through the nose. Take a few rounds of quiet breath, just noticing its rhythm, its depth, its quality. And as you continue, see if you can start to deepen your inhales and lengthen your exhales so that you can feel the belly and the pelvic area rise with that inhale and soften as you exhale. The deeper that breath comes into the body, the more easy it is for you to access that motion in your belly, rising and falling. The belly and the pelvic area rising and falling, widening, expanding in all directions like a balloon. You can always bring your hands to your belly. So, Kitty, we're in a starfish position on the floor. I see you come back in. We're in starfish position. And I love to do some good old belly pelvic breathing on root chakra day. So again, the chakras are an ancient energetic belief system. And ancient yogis realized that there are many energetic pathways throughout the entire body. They're actually, they're called nadis, 72,000 of them, different nerve pathways and endings throughout the body. And these pathways intersect. And when they intersect, they're spinning, the point where they intersect are considered chakras. That's the intersection is the chakra. And it's like a spinning wheel of energy where these pathways meet. So there are actually 144 different chakras in your body, but for yoga purposes, we tend to focus on those chakras that meet along the spine, starting at the tailbone, going all the way up into the neck and to the head and beyond. The chakra powers are so great. So we're focusing on the 7 main chakras. Today, the root chakra, it's located in your tailbone. Its Sanskrit name is Muladhara, and each chakra has an element which it's associated with, and the root chakra is earth. Its element is earth. And ideas associated with rooting is being prepared, being grounded, being safe, being sound and secure, solid, steadfastness, having basically everything you need to propel forth in whatever challenge you have in your daily life. So its properties are groundedness, being solid, survival, other ideas associated with our root chakra. And if we get a little too excessive in our root chakra, we become heavy, lethargic, maybe overweight. Its opposite element is being flighty, your head in the clouds. Its demon is fear. So if it's really off balance, you might feel a constant sense of fear within your psyche. So today we'll focus on poses that can help ground us, that can help us strip away the many layers of yoga and get down to the bare essentials, what you need in your practice. Knowledge of the poses, keeping your alignment principles intact, having all of your props nearby, the room is situated the way you need it, your device, all these things are going to affect your root chakra. as well as, are you hungry? Maybe you've already eaten and you're feeling kind of grumbly. That can also affect your root chakra or your practice. So let's go a few more breaths in this pose, noticing how your spine feels at this point. And then, as you're ready, slowly bring your breath back to normal if you're still doing that belly breath. And then from there, just notice how you feel after holding the starfish position for some time. And then go ahead and start to bring your arms back in, and your feet a little closer together. You're back in that original position. And then when you're ready, and come into a two-legged table. And then from there, let's go into a supported bridge. Take your block and lift up and put it under your hips and stay here for a few moments. You can keep your socks on. We're not going to do anything too strenuous, just a little bit of lifting of those hips. And then let's lift up and go up in the higher position. Stay there for a couple of breaths. Let's do 5 belly breaths in this position. And come back to a regular breath as you're ready. And let's go back to that lower position. And then as you're in the lower position, let's start to pick up the fronts of the feet, the balls of the feet. Pick up the toes and the balls of the feet and do that a few times. Keep the heels on the floor, but lift the balls of the feet back and forth. Mm-hmm. And then do the opposite. Lift the heels off the floor. So you're still on your block. Notice how this movement changes things in the lower part of your spine. Let's do a couple more of those. And then maybe do a few where you go back and forth. Lift the balls of the feet and then the heels of the feet. And we'll bring the feet back down to the floor. Let's stay there for a breath or two. And then let's lift the hips up, remove the block, bring the hips back down, and then bring the feet and the knees wide and your arms out to the side. And today's wipers, rather than focusing on bringing both knees from side to side, let's focus on bringing one knee to the opposite foot, towards the opposite foot or ankle. It might touch, it might not. And the other knee probably has to stay a little in the air to support that. So it's about bringing one knee to the opposite foot and then come back to the center and do the opposite. So go back and forth with an eye towards bringing one knee down towards the other foot or ankle. Feel free to change where the feet are in relation to each other and your trunk to make that a little bit more accessible for you. Maybe change the arms. Find a good solid connection to the earth, because that's one of the elements of our root chakra, being good and grounded so that we can handle these changes and use those earth energies, the gravitational forces, to hold us down, keep us secure, rooted, and safe. Let's go a few more of these. Let's bring the head into it. The other end of our spine there. The more grounded your body, the more freedom of movement you will have. Let's go a few more times. Take your time. And come back to center. And maybe move your feet, maybe bring your arms back down. Take a couple of breaths. Notice how you feel. And then let's draw our belly in and hug our knees into our chest. So every time you draw your belly in before you hug your knees, that protects your low back, right? That's your root chakra. You're not just hugging your knees into your chest. You're making a preparation. You're doing something before you take that action. That is your root chakra in action. The more prepared you are for your actions, the more you can handle these actions. Let's kind of rock from side to side. And you'll get a nice little low back massage. Your sacrum gets a nice little massage, especially if your knees are far away from the body. That's your second chakra. I don't want to talk too much about your sacrum today, though it is very close to your tailbone, and they have similar properties because they're both evolved. They're both involved survival and sensuality and change. Come back to center. Let's make our way up to a seated position. So feel free to bolt right up or sit up. Take your time. And let's come into an easy pose. Knees bent, feet on the floor. Sit on the blanket if that makes you feel more rooted. So that's where your root chakra comes in to play as well. If it's a struggle for you to be sitting on the floor, then your basic needs are not being met. So that's a time for you to say, oh, okay, maybe I need to change my seat. Maybe I need to put a prop under my bum. Maybe I need blocks under my knees. Yoga's not a competition. You don't have to be doing what other people are doing. What feels right for you? What's going to make you feel safe and sound and stable? That's your root chakra in action right there. So take a few more breaths to establish a good foundation. Let's bring our hands out to the sides, pull our fingers, and gently press the fingers into the floor to give for a more grounded feeling in the body. And you might feel your foundation has suddenly gotten wider, more wide than just your sits bones, but going all the way out to those fingers. Let's take 3 more breaths here. And when you're ready, let's inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale one down. It doesn't matter which one you start. Lengthen your spine with an inhale. Exhale as you curve that spine. And go back and forth in your rainbows, bit by bit. Start small and see where things go. There's your root chakra. You're starting conservatively at that base and seeing how things are going to evolve for you. Be safe and sound. Painting the rainbows. We'll probably do rainbows each week because the rainbows are associated with the chakras. The chakras first were mentioned in ancient texts 3,000 years ago, something called the Upanishads. And they were later more delineated and drawn out and mapped out in the 19th century. Excuse me, the 20th century. And sometimes during the 70s, somebody figured out, oh, the 7 chakras, 7 rainbow colors, and started associating the rainbow colors with the chakras. Let's go a couple more. Red is your root chakra, the first color of the rainbow. Let's move back to the center. Take a couple of breaths. Notice what's going on in your body. And one more breath. And then as you're ready, let's come into table position. And our spinal column is where all these 7 chakras are located, from tailbone to neck. Our spine moves in 6 different directions. We talked about that a lot last week. We've twisted, we've curved from side to side. Let's curve from front to back by way of our cats and calves. Root the feet, root the hands, root the knees. Press into the floor as you curve your spine back and forth. So ask your hands, your knees, your feet to play a big part of this movement. And you'll understand that, oh, you know what? When I do that, I actually have a little bit more pliability and more mobility and flexibility in that spinal column. Use those earth forces to help you articulate. Let's do a few more of these. Come back to table as you're ready. You may shake out your hips. And if you're wearing socks and you like to take off your socks for yoga, this might be a good time to take them off. And then let's start playing around with our down dogs. This is not very easy today. These socks are these are new socks and they're a little longer than usual. Okay, so take your time. Lost one of my earphones. Here it is. Wow, speaking of being grounded, I'm not very grounded today. I'm a little flighty. But this practice is helping. So, if you ever feel ungrounded, then do a practice that's really low to the ground, and then you might feel a little bit more secure, a little bit more grounded. Take your time with your down dogs, rooting into the floor and rising up from that earth. Avoid going into your 100% right away. Rest when you need to. Take care of those basic needs. You don't want to push yourself too hard. Be safe, be sound. Take care of those base needs. All root chakra elements. Any kind of activity that is close to the ground or involves the ground, the earth, very grounding. So if you, I'm going to take a break while you continue your dogs, but other activities that you can do to promote your root chakra, gardening, hiking, walking, basically any communing with nature, recycling, taking care of the earth, that can help you feel more grounded. Um, I've been reading a book recently that I had never read about the chakras, and he mentioned something that I had never heard that can also stimulate your root chakra is riding roller coasters and doing fear-based activities like jumping out of a plane. That might make you feel grounded because it's tapping into your feelings of fear, your emotions of fear, and fear is a big part of your root chakra. And tapping into your fear and working out your fears in a positive manner. That's a good way for you to condition and stimulate that root chakra. I'm not suggesting that you go do something death defying, okay? I just found that pretty interesting. Let's go a couple more breaths in our dogs and think about making our way up to a standing position. So take your time. If you need a little rest, you can do that. Otherwise, when you're ready, make your way up to a dog and root in the floor. Root those feet to help you lift up. So press the feet into the floor as you lift up and notice how that makes it so much easier to stand up. And now that we're up, and now that we've had some time to experience some down dogs, let's do a wall dog where we can experience a different kind of dog so that we can feel those feet good and grounded and good and rooted. So put your hands shoulder height, maybe a little higher, press against the wall, and then hinge at the hips. Feel those feet press into the floor, the hands press into the wall, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. You could also put your hands on a piece of furniture. It doesn't have to be a wall. And notice how having the feet more rooted might allow you to go deeper in that dog. And I'll give you a little more time with it. And we'll spend a few more breaths with it, lengthening, playing around with it. And then when you're ready, make sure you come up out of your wall dog safely. So sometimes I'll see people take their hands off and then stand up. That's not very safe. You want to be pressing into the wall and to the feet and into the floor as you lift up, then walk forward, then take your hands off. That's keeping your body safe. That's keeping your root chakra in mind as you practice. And these chakras are always present in our practice. It's just that this semester we're going to be focusing on them a little bit more. So I've brought these ideas to you over and over and over again. So it's good to just kind of reinforce them in a different way. Come to the top of your mat. Let's do a little standing and some strengthening poses. Let's do a few chair poses first. So from your mountain, your alignment principles are root chakra focused. You've got your shoulders over your hips, over your knees, over your ankles. So if you're standing like this in your mountain, and you're just kind of, that's kind of skipping your root chakra. Think about shoulders over hip joints, over knee joints, over ankle joints, 2 parallel lines. And then take your mind when you're ready into your feet and find the 3 corners of your feet, the heels and the balls of the big and little toes. How many times have I asked you to do that? There's your root chakra. Draw your belly in to help engage your core muscles. That's not right in your spine, but that's root chakra element. When you're ready, lift your arms, press the feet, bend the knees, hinge the hips. You decide how far you want to go into your chair. Maybe press into the floor a little deeper. The more you root those feet, the deeper you can go. The more you might handle it. Takes pressure off that back, doesn't it? Let's come back to mountain. Let's take 2 breaths. I'll do it from the side. Let's do another one. So root the feet, draw the belly in. There's your root chakra, preparing you for change to lift and evolve into your second chair. Keep pressing into the floor. Keep that belly drawn in. Maybe you can go a little deeper because you're so grounded and rooted. One more breath if it's there for you. Come out sooner if you need to. Stay longer if you want. Let's take 2 breaths. Now let's do one more chair, okay? When you're ready, inhale. Exhaling into the movement is also very root chakra oriented. Using those exhales to come down, using the exhales to root, feeling that downward earth energy. 1 or 2 more breaths. Use an inhale, but keep pressing into the floor to lift and to lower. 3 breaths. Also, these little transitions from one pose to the next, that's keeping that root chakra in mind. You're not rushing from one thing to the next. That's very root chakra related. So let's do a few warrior ones. From your mountain, step your right foot back, root those feet, ground them before you bend the knee, root and ground them before you lift the arms. And if you're so good and grounded with those feet, you might be able to handle things like cactus arms and cactus flies, and maybe doing some arm motions, bringing the arms up and down. Root the feet, draw the belly in. Does that make this movement more palatable, easier for you. Maybe you can get really creative. Couple more breaths and we can make our way back to the front. Take a couple of breaths once you're back. How does it feel? How do you feel? Go to the other side when you're ready. Bit by bit, ground and root before you make each change in both the feet and your core muscles, your center of gravity. Making it easier to free flow. You don't have to be doing arm movement if you don't want to. Maybe even do a little bit of a back bend, interlace the fingers and lift that heart. Feet are so grounded, you can handle this. Back to mountain when you're ready. Take a couple of breaths. So I'm going to do this from the side because now we'll be introducing some warrior twos. So when you're ready, let's go into a warrior one again on the right. And spend a couple of breaths rooting and grounding and bringing some movement into it. And then eventually opening out into a warrior two. And once you've got a good solid warrior two, then go into your sun. Keep those feet good and rooted to keep you safe. Go to your warrior two when you're ready. Let's do a side angle. Maybe your elbow is on the knee, maybe your hand is on the floor. I'm very conservative. Backstroke back up to your warrior two. Root the feet to help you with that change. And come forward when you're ready. And let's take 3 breaths. Try to stay still as you take these 3 breaths. There's keeping that root chakra intact. You're not rushing, you're listening, you're grounded, you're present. Your head's not in the clouds somewhere. You're not moving on to the next thing. You're still in what you just did. Let's do the other side. So I'm going to come down here. So when I open out, I'm opening out towards you. So once again, from your mountain, step that left foot back. Make your way into a warrior one. Root those feet. Root the legs. Maybe a little bit of movement to get you ready to come open into that warrior two as you're ready. Let's do a sun. Come back into your warrior two as you're ready. Find your side warrior. Anytime you start to feel wobbly, root those feet. Draw the belly in. Feel a connection between the rooted feet and the drawn in belly. That can help you make for a more grounded, safe experience. Back to your mountain. Take a couple of breaths. Shake it out if you like. Once you've taken a few breaths, let me check our time. We're doing pretty well. Let's do a couple of trees and then we're going to get back down on the floor. Can't really experiment with root chakra without doing trees. The more rooted a tree, the stronger it's going to stay in that ground. You know, this is why when cars run into a tree, they don't move because they're so rooted. Well, they can move, but depending on the force, but you know what I mean. Okay, let's start with the good mountain. Root the feet, draw the belly in. And when you're ready, only when you're ready, start to shift and lift and find the bottom half of your tree first. And once that's established, then bring the upper part into it. We'll go a few more breaths. And then as you're ready, start to come on back out, bit by bit. Avoid rushing your exit. Settle in the middle for a couple of breaths. Let everything simmer, soak in, then move on to the next side. Start with the bottom half, and when it's established, that's a good time to consider, am I going to go deeper? Couple more breaths. Come out as you're ready. Take a couple of breaths between the two rounds, maybe shake it out. You know, these things can help ground you too, releasing pent up energy. Sometimes you got to let go of that stuff. You might want to change, you know, where you're positioned. So if that first time you needed some help, like I am going to take, I'm going to turn and do it. So I'm not feeling so stable today. So let's go on to our second tree. Take your time building it. Start from the ground up. Keep that belly drawn in, the heart lifted, tapping into your core muscles. Couple more breaths. And as you're ready, start to come back out bit by bit. I'll give you plenty of time to percolate. No, not percolate. It's whatever the opposite of percolate is. And then we'll do the other side. Take your time. Press that foot into the floor. Think about also pressing the foot that's going into the leg. Press that foot into the leg and press the leg back into the foot. That can also have tremendous grounding, stabilizing, and strengthening effects in your tree pose. Belly drawn in, heart lifted. Couple more breaths. Take your time dismantling your tree when you're ready. I like to bring the arms down and then dismantle the bottom half. That gives me that building block kind of mentality as I construct my poses, and that keeps me rooted and grounded. So I'm always saying bit by bit, slowly but surely, These are all root chakra ideas. Let's take a couple of breaths, just kind of noticing what it's like to be back on 2 feet, maybe walk around, wriggle it out, maybe do some leg tapping if you like. And then let's get back down on the floor. I'm going to grab my water, take a couple of sips of water. And that's very root chakra. Drink water all day. Proper nutrition, your basic primal needs are strong aspects of your root chakra. So if you're not taking good care of yourself, you're bypassing your root chakra and everything else above that root chakra. Change, challenge, stamina, love, understanding, voice, all that stuff starts to just fly out the window. Got to be grounded. Skipping that base is very dangerous. Let's come into Dandasana. Another pose we'll do frequently as we study the chakras, because Dandasana is named for the spine, the house of our chakras. So, legs out in front of you, line up the ankles, the knees, the hips, and the shoulders, just like we do when we're doing a mountain pose. Find those two lines. There's your alignment principles, part of your root chakra. Engage the legs by pointing the toes to the ceiling. Find a good earthly connection between the legs and the earth, a good solid connection between the earth. And then also maybe wriggle from sit bone to sit bone, and then settle on both sits bones. And close your eyes if it's there for you. And then tilt your pelvis slightly forward. And maybe you can feel your tailbone tipping down and rooting and grounding onto the floor. It's hard to touch it down onto the floor. You might not feel it, but fake it. Pretend like you can feel that tailbone. Making for a little tripod in your seat. 2 sits bones, a tailbone. Does that make it easier for you to draw in your belly and lift your heart? It might even make it easier for you to soften your shoulders, your face. Let's take 5 more breaths. Honor the curves of your spine without exaggerating them. So you don't want to be like this. You want to be neutral. Yes, there's a curve in the lower back, but it's contained. There are curves in your upper back and your spine, but they're contained. And then let's go ahead and shake out the legs. Tap them out. Let's see what we're doing with time. Yeah, we've got time for this. Let's do a seated twist. Let's do a Lord of the Fishes twist. So we can do this from our staff. Once you're ready, go ahead and bend your left knee. Bend your left knee. And then put your left knee on the other side of your right leg. And then put your left elbow inside that left knee. Draw your belly in. Bring your right hand to the back. And then turn and look over that shoulder. And if you're feeling any struggles, the more grounded you get, the easier this pose can be. So activate your earth connection, your body and earth connection. Root the leg, the foot that's on the floor, the sits bones that are on the floor, even the hand and the back. the elbow into the knee into the elbow. All of these ideas will help protect you and stabilize your twist so that you might be able to rotate a little further. Though don't force it. You don't want to injure yourselves. Safety, a big part of our root chakra here. Let's go 1 or 2 more breaths. And then let's release. Come back to the center, bit by bit. Back to the center. Have the foot on the other side of the leg for a breath or 2. Let your hips get used to being back. Then bring the foot back. Then extend it. Breath or 2. And then if you want to move them around, you can do that. You don't have to do that. You can go ahead and start the other one. First things first, bend the knee, foot on the floor. Get used to that. Then put it on the other side. Get used to that. Maybe bring the foot closer in. Draw the belly in. Elbow on inside of that knee. Other hand to the back. Press into the floor. Press into the knee, into that elbow. Belly drawn in. Do these little actions, these tiny actions in your body and in your movement here. What kind of profound effects do they have for you? Let's go 1 more breath. Bring your body back first. Bring the foot back. Extend it out. Shake it out. Let's do some leg tapping. Okay. I'm getting kind of gotten down a little early. Try to think of something else. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and let's lie back. If you want, you can put your socks on and lie back with your knees back, feet on the floor. Lie back with your knees bent. Did I say that right? I'm putting my socks back on because it's a little chilly in here today. Okay. Couple of breaths here. Pick up your right ankle and put it on your left knee. And then bring your arms out to the sides. And then bring that structure and your legs down to the left. And then bring them back up and then bring them over to the right. Going back and forth. One side might get closer to the floor than the other. Notice what you're doing in the foot that's on the floor. Notice how that foot moves and keeps you grounded and rooted. That's that main foundational point there. Well, the hips are too, but that foot gives you really good foundation. And maybe you lift it for part of it. Maybe you keep it down on the floor the whole time. Let's do a few more of these. Come back to center as you're ready. Stay there for a couple of breaths. And then take hold of the thigh of the leg where the foot's on the floor. And then pick that foot up off the floor if you can. And you might extend that leg or you might keep that leg bent. You decide. And avoid craning your neck to do this. Keep that head on the floor. Keep that head and neck neutral. And maybe do a little rocking from side to side. You can move the feet a little bit if you like. You can stretch out that leg and make circles with the feet in whatever position you're in. And we'll go a few more breaths like this. Nice hamstring stretch. And when you're ready, you can bring everything back down and stay there for a couple of breaths. And then bring that foot down and stay there for a couple of breaths. And then switch sides. Once that foot is up, stay there for a couple of breaths. Maybe make a little change in the foot and the arms. And only when you're ready, start that twist action and start small. See where you can go with this. Be safe. Be cautious, but be curious. Stoking a sense of challenge while keeping those basic safety needs intact. Do you want to bring the head into it? You don't have to if you don't want to. But at some point, if you'd like to try, this would be a good time because you've got that bottom action pretty well stabilized. We can do a few more. And stop the head action at some point and just do a few more rounds with just the legs, kind of slowly rounding back to the center, that starting ground. Notice for a couple of breaths how it feels. Then bring it down. Stay there for a couple of breaths. Notice how you feel. And then let's visit our Apanasana hug. Draw that belly in before you pick up those legs. And you can do some rocking and some rolling, some extending of the legs, bending and movement in the feet there. You might want to play with a happy baby if you'd like to do a little bit more hip opening work, a little bit more of a hamstring stretch. I still can't reach my feet, but I'm getting closer. Where do you want to go with this? And return to your Apanasana at some point and spend some time there. Make sure you draw your belly in before you bring the feet down so you don't strain that back. Let's do another twist. Arms out to the sides, knees to one side. And once they've stabilized, then move your head the opposite direction. I tell you that a lot. That's very root chakra oriented. Foundation before you go deeper. The foundation being your legs and the lower part of your body. Keeping that neck and head stable. Let's go 3 more breaths here. I think you might tap into your belly breathing here, your pelvic breathing. you're doing your pelvic breathing, back off of that, then bring the head back, then bring the knees back. Stay there for a breath or two. Let the effects register before you move on to your next challenge. Bit by bit, build the bottom half first, then the top half. And release and enjoy. Let's go another breath or two. Please take your time. Head comes back first, then the knees. Let's stay here for a couple of breaths. And you're welcome to hug your knees back into your chest for Apanasana. Some people like to finish twists off with a symmetrical pose. Two-legged table might be just enough. Shavasana might be enough. So whenever you're ready, we're going into our Shavasana a little earlier today than usual. Now, if you fight support in your Shavasana each week, if you're like, I don't need that, maybe try it. Maybe see what that's like. Maybe you see that you're missing something, that you could have, made your Shavasana a little bit more comfortable. And the whole point of our Shavasana, I'm going to rise up, but you stay right where you are, is to once again connect with the earth. Release into the earth, the safety of the earth. It's enveloping you, almost hugging you. Release into the shape and the weight of your body. Just let go. Our goals of our Shavasana. So I'll speak for a few minutes since we have a little extra time, and then I'll let you rest in peace. And you can bring the ideas of your root chakra even into your Shavasana. So if you're daydreaming, you're bypassing your root. Stay in the moment. Stay focused. Keep those Shavasana goals and principles in mind. I'm resting. I'm releasing. I'm relaxing. I'm absorbing the effects of the practice physically, energetically, emotionally. All these things are part of your experience. So if you get bored in your Shavasana, there's so many things that you can be doing. If you start to get distracted in your Shavasana, there's a lot you can be doing to stay in the moment. You don't need a teacher to remind you. So I'm going to leave you in silence with your breath. Let's go a few more quiet breaths here. Simply being, simply noticing your being. And as you're ready, slowly start to deepen those inhales. Lengthen your exhales. Bit by bit, start to feel movement and energy returning to the body just by that breath. And then follow up with tiny movements in the fingers and hands and feet. Bring your arms and legs into it. Make sure you draw your belly in before you bring those bigger limbs into it. Returning to a two-legged table and trying to stay there for at least 2 breaths, maybe even more before you roll or turn to one side and then roll to that side. Stay there a couple of breaths. Notice each change with at least 1 or 2 breaths. Then you know you're not rushing yourself. Draw out those breaths. Use that earth energy to help you back up to whatever seated position feels right, with whatever props feel right. There's your root chakra. Every week I say that. Root your sits bones and draw your belly in, and slightly tilt your pelvis and see if you can feel that tailbone, your root chakra setting down, making for that little tripod in your seat, and connect it with the energy of your drawn in belly. And then let's do a mudra. We'll do a mudra each week. The earth mudra, our root chakra mudra, is very simple. The tips of our thumbs and our ring fingers touching. Turn the hands open. Let those other fingers extend. Actually, let's put them down. Let's put them down. That might make us feel a little bit more grounded. Let's take 3 breaths like this. Gently pressing the fingertips together. Maybe that makes you feel more grounded, more stable. You can release that mudra, hands in front of your lifted heart. May you be safe, may you be happy, and may you be free from suffering. Namaste. Thank you so much for your practice today. And I'm going to say it on camera. Thank you for your patience. I had a little bit of a rocky start, but just talking about the root chakra has made me feel more grounded. I hope you found that practice rewarding. And we'll be focusing on the next chakra, the sacral chakra, which is just